Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Outliers YouTube channel and our program Get to Know. I'm your host, DP Lyle, and I'm here with my cohort in crime, Kathleen Antrim.
Thanks, Doug, and it's great to be here. I'm very excited about this interview today. It's going to be a little bit of a twist on Get to Know. This gentleman, it seems to me, has lived more than one life, and his background is fascinating. He is a best-selling novelist. He's written 4 books that I know are incredibly thrilling thrillers. And Michael Hearns, it's just exciting to have you here on Get to Know. Welcome.
Kathleen, DP, thank you for having me. So wonderful to see y'all.
Yeah, it's great to be here with you today. I like to start out interviews with a little bit of the background on our author, and you've got such an amazing background. But I'm going to go a little bit further back and just ask your childhood when you were growing up, if you could give us kind of a thumbnail about that and whether or not you feel that influenced the direction of your life, certainly as far as becoming an author, but also in law enforcement. I mean, please tell us.
My childhood. My childhood, I guess, I don't know if it's any different than anybody else's. I grew up on the street with actually 9 boys, maybe 13 at some point. And I kind of fell, chronologically right in the middle of all of them. It was very much like Lord of the Flies. We were in Miami, Florida. The entire whatever's out in the neighborhood was our playground. Canals full of alligators, tree forts, soccer games, football games, baseball games, just a lot of early burgeoning testosterone, I guess is what I would say. And everybody was really cool and we all got along, but we all were just like a little tribe. And we all grew up together. And to this day, I've been out of high school now almost 50 years, and to this day, everybody's still very much in touch. And you'll run into some guy and you'll be talking to him, and my wife will go, "Who's that?" And I'll say, "Oh, that's so and so." And she'll be like, "You never mentioned him." I go, "I haven't seen him in 25 years." And you just pick up right where you left off. So it was actually a very good upbringing. It was crazy, but it was very good. It was very feral, if that's the word I got to use, feral.
Oh, interesting. Do you think you learned maybe some street smarts that way? Because, after you kind of grew up, I don't know, did you go to college and then you went into law enforcement? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think I definitely picked up some street smarts. And I lived in a community that was very close to Miami International Airport, and it was very aviation centric. And a lot of the people in my community were legitimate aviation employees, pilots, engineers, loaders, but they also were not opposed to doing some clandestine smuggling on the side if they could. So even as a kid growing up, we kind of knew who was in the business. So that kind of helped with the background. I went off to college in New England. I did my undergrad in Connecticut, my master's in Vermont. Came back to Miami and started working in the aviation business myself for a while. And with the furloughs and the deregulation of the early 1980s, I saw a lot of airlines going in and out of business. Some of the ones I worked for included. I needed and wanted a recession-proof job, and I went to law enforcement. I didn't really have like a epiphany or a great call in or a beam of light. It just was like I need a job where I'm not going to get laid off. So I went into law enforcement and then parlayed that into a career. And after 27 years, I retired.
So talk to us a little bit about the experiences you had in law enforcement, because quite frankly, I read your bio and it's amazing. So hit some of the high points. I mean, I really want our listeners and viewers to learn a little bit about your background before we get into the writing, because clearly that, informs your writing, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, my background is probably not what normal people would go through in law enforcement. It's probably one of those situations where opportunity, luck, environment all kind of came together at one big intersection, and I happened to be standing in the middle of it. I started out in law enforcement. I got hired by City of Miami, City of Coral Gables, and the U.S. Customs Service at the same time. And I chose to work for the City of Coral Gables in Miami, Miami-Dade County. Yeah, the county of Miami-Dade is actually bigger in size and population than the state of Rhode Island. So we have like 28 municipalities, and one of the more notable ones is the City of Coral Gables. And I worked for Coral Gables, and rather quickly, uh, was put into a street narcotic task force, and it was very bizarre hours. I think I was put there only simply because I was single and young and didn't mind coming into work at 8 p.m. and getting off at 5 a.m. But we were doing a lot of really assertive things. I won't say, I'll stop short of saying aggressive, but we were very proactive. And then that morphed into being jettisoned into the Detective Bureau as a vice intelligence narcotic detective. We call it VIN. A lot of people will call it special investigations. But basically, if you remember the television show Miami Vice, that's what we were and that's what we are. And I guess you could say I was the actual real Miami Vice. I did that for 10 years. And in that 10 years, I was cross-sworn with U.S. Customs Service, Broward County Sheriff's Office, City of Miami Police Department, U.S. Border Patrol. I mean, I've lost track of everybody who gave us badges and credentials because we were kind of moving through various jurisdictions, and after a while, even different states. I spent a lot of time in Manhattan, New York. I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles. So I was undercover for 10 years. Most of the work we did, we posed as money launderers for the cartel, first with the Medellin cartel in Colombia, and then with the Cali cartel. We also worked some lots of high-end cocaine transactions, very much like you see in television and TV, just not as stylized.
So this is
And
during the Cocaine Cowboys era.
it was at the back end of it,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, a lot of the people you see in Cocaine Cowboys in that documentary, to include Alfred Spellman and Billy Corbin, are people I know quite well. And most people in that documentary I either worked for, with, or against.
Yeah.
At the age of 15, I was playing soccer in the very cutthroat adult soccer league of Miami. Very, very, very rough league. And I was just this young kid. I was playing for the country of Colombia. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but my team was owned by Fabio Ochoa. And we're talking like 1977. And this is before Escobar and the Ochoas and Joe later and them came to prominence. So he would hand me a Gatorade at halftime and say, "Hey, Flaco, you play good." And little did I know that 12 years later, we'd be chasing him around the globe. But back then, he was just a shaggy haired guy with a puka shell necklace. He looked like David Cassidy to me. I didn't know who he was, and we had no idea what type of business venture they were in. He just owned my team. So we always had, Miami's one of those convergent points of life where if you're in there long enough, you're going to rub shoulders with people at certain places and all. So yeah, that was my brush with the cartel before I was even in law enforcement. So at the back end of my career, we had an individual come through our city that we suspected was a serial killer. And that case fell on my lap. And I had the privilege of getting to know and work with Dr. John Philpin, one of the original independent criminal profilers in the country. And Dr. Philpin had worked on the Gainesville murders in Gainesville, Florida. He'd worked on a couple cases on the West Coast in San Diego and San Francisco and such. And he became a mentor and actually a very good personal friend. And under his tutelage and guidance, I went and pursued my master's degree in investigative criminal psychology. So then I started working criminal serial homicide cases, serial rape, serial burglars. And the agency would loan me out from time to time to other agencies. And that kind of took me towards the back end of my career. And then when I retired, I always had these stories germinating in my head, and I decided, well, I'll try to be a writer. And here we are talking to Kathleen and DP.
Well, when you made that decision, had you been a reader, an avid reader beforehand, or was this kind of, let's just jump in the deep end of the pool and see what happens?
Yeah, no floaties, no nothing, no just right
Exactly.
into the deep end. Actually, I'm a reader. I would not say I'm an avid reader. I'm a selective reader. I'll read certain authors and certain genres that appeal to me. I consider myself well read, but I don't stand on pins and needles in front of a bookstore waiting for the latest, greatest to be dropped off from the truck.
Right.
When it comes towards me, then I'll pick it up or something. And when I'm writing, I don't read anybody.
Right.
I not that I'm so focused that I can't. It's just that it kind of pollutes and clouds my mind, and I worry about subconsciously picking up something and using it or inserting it or something like that. So my wife is running right through. I mean, my wife is Janet Ivankovich, yeah, and Beatrice Williams are some of her favorites. She's always reading, and I'm always in front of the computer. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, when you made this leap from undercover to between the covers, uh,
Between the
did
covers,
you
yeah.
did you you take classes? Did you read a lot of books on writing, or did you just say, I know how to spin a yarn. I'm just going to sit down and see what happens? People approach it different ways, and I was wondering how you got from point A to point B.
Well, I don't want to make it sound like it's super easy because I think the three of us know it's not easy.
It's not.
And I don't want to make it sound like I overthought it or conceptualized it too much. When I came out of law enforcement, before I wrote my first novel, I started working as a technical advisor for film and TV. I worked on some projects for A&E and NBC Universal and a couple feature films. And being around the director, the actors, and so on and so forth, I kind of recognized real quick that you can take all the acting classes you want, but in the end, you have to do it. And there is a benefit to honing your craft, but don't get so mired in the details and in the worries. A quick analogy: my brother's a golfer, and I don't golf at all, but I can hit the ball. I mean, I drive it like Happy Gilmore, and I don't know how I do it because I don't overthink it. My brother sits there and he adjusts his shoulder and adjusts his elbow, and it takes him 3.5 minutes at the tee. I just, I just hit it. So I think ignorance is bliss. So in answer to the long roundabout question, the long answer to your question is I just kind of dove in. I felt like I read enough authors, I'd seen enough styles that I knew what I wanted to adapt as a style. I knew what I wanted to adapt as a method. But I think, and this could be ego, but I think I felt that my experiences were not similar to many people, and that's what I was going to draw on.
Well, I think it's
The
extremely insightful, and I tell you, we teach writing, of course, through Outliers, and we've been doing it long before Outliers existed. And the struggle is always to get a writer to say, forget all the rules and tell your story your way. It'll be better. If you try to jam it into all these structures, I'm a big proponent of not structuring. Just tell the damn story. And so it
yeah,
sounds like you came right out the front door immediately, knowing intuitively that that's the best thing to do. And pretty smart, pretty insightful. It takes a lot of people a
pretty and
decade to figure.
lucky.
Yeah, it takes a lot of everything. Luck's involved in everything, but it takes a lot of people 10 years of writing to figure that out. And then they say, this is my story. I want to tell it my way and not the way I
Yeah.
think the rules tell me to tell it. Yeah, I like that.
Well, I had a very prominent editor from a very prominent publishing house tell me that he loved my stories, but he said that he thought that I wrote too much, that I overwrote.
Yeah.
And coming from film and TV and working as an advisor and producer in film and TV, I recognize or I feel that we're becoming a very visual society.
Yes.
Very few people can actually sit down and read a book without checking their email, looking at their phone, peeking up at the TV or something. And we become very visual. So I write in a very descriptive sense. And if I were to say, that me and Kathleen got in the car and we drove off to Little Rock, Arkansas, Kathleen went into an antique shop and she bought a Fender guitar. I would be like, hold on, wait a minute. Where did you go? Where did you drive? Where did you stop? What did you eat? What did you see? Why that guitar? Why that? So I get very descriptive.
Right.
And my books are written about a Miami detective named Cade Taylor, and they're all written in the first person. So many readers who I've met tell me that they feel that they're right with Cade Taylor when the murder occurs, when the drug deal occurs, when the car crash occurs. They feel they're right with him because it's in the first person.
Right.
And what I don't do is I don't embellish anything. Cade Taylor is fictional, but the restaurants he walks into, the streets he drives on, the businesses he walks into, the anything he does is actually from Miami. It's geographically and chronologically correct. So if I tell you that he's talking about a Miami Dolphin football game, that game really happened on that day. I researched title charts. I researched moon phases. They order entrees from the actual restaurant, not something I made up.
Yeah.
So even though the people in these stories are fictional, they interact with the real Miami. And so Miami becomes a character just as much as the individuals are. And that's a tip of the hat,
Mm-hmm.
a respectful nod to someone like Michael Connolly, who has interwoven Los Angeles into the Harry Bosch things.
Yeah.
But I saw Michael Connolly the way he did that, and I thought I want to do like that. So yeah, that was one of
That's a
the
good path to
breadcrumbs I
follow, I
followed.
guarantee. Well, tell us
Yeah.
about Cade. Who is Cade? Who is he, and how did you get these stories rolling with him?
Well, Kay Taylor is a vice intelligence narcotic detective in Miami, Florida. He is in the first the books the books stand alone. It helps if you read them in order, only because there will be little nuances along the way. But by and large, they stand alone. There's no spoilers in all of them. But the books begin with Cade as he's going through a very eviscerating divorce. He drinks more than he should. He's acerbic. He's sardonic. He has a good wit. He's not always staying in the frame of life the way most people would like or think he should, but he gets the job done and he perseveres. He never quits. He stays in the fight. He's very street smart, and he implements his knowledge and his environment to help him solve these cases in ways that many people probably have not seen in books or films before. Cade Taylor is a he's probably he's probably an unintentional lone wolf. I think he would like to have a grounded aspect to his life, but he's kind of out there. And he recognizes that he's in an environment that people don't fully understand. And as we talked earlier in this interview, I mentioned cocaine trafficking and money laundering. And I think everybody thinks they have an idea what that is, but you actually see that world through the life of Cade Taylor in these books. And you get an understanding that it's a lot more than what you see in your local movie or television show.
Well, you've got 4 books in this series, and this would be the most
Mhm.
recent one. Um,
That's it, yeah.
yeah. What's this story about in the thumbnail? So,
In the thumbnail and Choices and Chances, Cade reluctantly gets teamed up with an old police academy classmate who's a homicide investigator. And they're investigating a murder, or actually a found body. And then it turns out that an interfering, meddling federal agent gets in the way of this case, and it jeopardizes their ability to solve this case as well as to Cade stand in with the DEA. He's a member of the DEA task force, Drug Enforcement Agency task force. But over time, Cade realizes that this federal agent, who's a female, actually has a lot of merit to what she's saying and doing, and they start to work together and find a way to solve this case.
Very cool. So, please tell us, I did see that it looks like we can buy your book on Amazon for Kindle. Where else can we get your book? And tell us about your website.
My website is michaelhearns.com, appropriately named. As far as the book's in it may not be on the shelf at like Books a Million or Barnes and Noble, but you can go in and ask them. I always encourage everybody constantly, please go to your local bookstore. Support your
yes.
local business. Um, I'm a big proponent of supporting local businesses, and go in there, and even if it's not available, hey, go in there, ask for it. They'll order it for you. Come back in 2 days, it'll be there for you. I mean, support your local people. But yeah, Amazon, Target, Walmart, I've seen it, on their websites and available by everybody. So it's readily available. It's going to be your choice of where you want to get it from.
Fantastic. Michael Hearns, it's been fantastic to have you on Get to Know, and we're going to have you back. I mean, this is a fascinating discussion, and we're going to want to dig a little deeper into that background of yours. I'll throw it back to you, Doug.
Yeah, when your next book comes out, let us know, because we'd love to have you back and chat about it and learn a little bit more about Cade and how your career's going and all of that. In the meantime, thanks for being here. We really enjoyed it. It's great talking with you. And for our viewers out there,
No, thank you. It's been my pleasure.
click the thumbs up so that we, get the algorithm rolling and more people can go in, and always subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcasting. And in the meantime, keep reading, keep writing, keep laughing, and try not to get caught.